So I'm gonna record, which I should have started already, but for the YouTube. Okay, The Princess Bride, what a great movie. um, so at one of the meetings, you said there was multiple types of fencing. What are they again?
The three types of fencing are foil, epee, and saber. Each weapon has a different technique that you want to use to score touches and different target areas.
So what is the club going to be using?
We will be training in classical foil, and I also have experience in the saber and epee. So if we want later on, we can move into those weapons, but primarily the foil. That's your fundamentals and really helps you establish a good set of skills.
So, what is the history behind fencing?
So fencing started as combat. People used to fight each other with swords over deals of honor or just in general warfare, but it also became a sport in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, and the Greeks actually included it in their first Olympics. And the sword masters used to get paid more than the javelin masters, actually, which is a pretty cool thing that just shows you how important it was to them. As guns became better, swords became less effective, so they got refined into the lighter versions that they are now and were used for hand to hand combat or matters of self defense. But they were also used to settle disputes. Like if someone insulted your honor, then you could throw down the gauntlet and challenge them. And then the Hungarians introduced saber, which is more of a slashing sort of cavalry weapon. And then the epee was refined into the foil, which is lighter and has a smaller target area. So when the French were teaching the students how to fence, they would fence with the foil to help them, as I said before, get the fundamentals down. It's used in the Olympics today. There are team and solo events for each weapon, and there's even wheelchair fencing, which was developed to help veterans with physical therapy.
That's pretty neat. What are the events that the team does?
So we'll mainly be doing practices. Practices will start with drills, and then we'll do some open bouting. And a bout is like a duel. Um, and we will also be doing some fundraisers. And if we want, as people get more experienced and comfortable with the weapons and past the beginner training, we can do some mini tournaments.
And how do they run the tournaments?
So tournaments are either team tournaments or individual tournaments. Team tournaments are basically tournaments where the fencers are divided up into teams and everyone fences each other and the scores get compounded. So you might only score 3 touches, but the next person in your team could score 10, and at the end of everybody fencing everybody, you add up those totals and face off.
And that's by, if somebody touches you, it's by word of mouth, right? We don't have the other style, which is the electronics
Right.
sensor.
So most of the time, it's based off of chivalry and honesty. So if someone hits you on target, you say touche. But for tournaments, most of the time, there is some sort of electrical system in place to help judge and more accurately call touches because they happen so fast. Sometimes you can't pick them up, even if you are a very experienced judge.
Do you want to talk about the one funny time when I think you said it was in the Olympics when they actually hacked the sensors?
Right. So the way that the electronic judging system works is you wear a body cord that's connected to a reel, so you can still move, but your body cord is attached to your foil, and you wear a special kind of conductive vest that covers anywhere that is on target. So when the blade makes contact with the vest with enough force, it signals that a valid touch has been made and the circuit is complete. Well, the Russians back in the Olympics, I forget which year it was, they rigged the system so that there was a little button on the inner bell guard of their weapon that would complete the circuit even if the foil didn't make contact with their opponent. So as the Russian fencer got close enough to potentially score a hit, they They would, I think the microphone cut out.
I can't tell. These are supposed to go way up, but they're not. But then you can hear in the headphones that it's just fine.
Okay, so I'll keep talking. But the Russians would hit the button on the inside of the bell guard as they got close, signaling that they got a touch even though it wasn't valid. And the way that it was discovered they were doing this was the Russian fencer hit the button because he thought that he was close enough, but his opponent retreated just at that moment, so it was very clear that he didn't actually make contact and they were found out.
How many people are in the group so far?
So we have a tentative 15. We've only had 2 meetings so far, and the last meeting was on a Thursday, so some people couldn't make that. But yeah, it's about 15 members so far.
So when do you guys start meeting?
Most of the time, we will meet Tuesdays from 7 to 8 in the Orvis gym, and we will meet once a week. If people want to meet more, then we can have more meetings.
So for new people interested in joining, how do you want them to reach out to you, and what is your policy of new people joining a club?
So anyone can join. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of experience or no experience at all. Most of our members right now have no experience, which is totally fine. We will teach you. The most important thing is that you come ready to learn and ready to listen.
So this is a little personal, but it's very usually it's very interesting. So people commonly get inspired by someone in their life that leads them to where they are. Mine would be my robotics teachers. Who was this person in your life and how did they inspire you?
So I would say the reason that I'm starting this club is because of my fencing coach. He just created this really great environment where kids could come in and form connections with their other fencers and really create sort of a family environment where everyone wanted to learn and get better and come to fencing every day that it was offered. So I wanted to do that here because it's just a really great sport. And, he came into every class really excited and loving what he was doing. And I wanted to continue that positive environment.
Where you can learn teamwork and chivalry, right?
Yeah, so fencing really teaches you how to lose, especially when you are learning. You will lose a lot, and that's the most important thing that you just keep going and practicing your skills and fencing each other. And it also teaches you chivalry. Like I said before, if you are touched, which is a valid point, you have to say touche, and we kind of rely on each other to be honest about that. Um, Even though it might be admitting that you're going to lose, you still should say touche to respect the other fencer's ability.
So starting a club can't be an easy thing. What was the biggest challenge you faced getting to this point in starting this club?
Well, I would say my biggest challenge was sort of overcoming shyness and figuring out how to really be good at communicating and coordinating things. Especially since this is a whole new environment for me. It's a new school. I'm a freshman. Um, so it's just figuring out how to coordinate and sort of be um, more sociable to get what I wanted. There's a lot of paperwork involved, so yeah, being organized too.
Well, that's with most of college, isn't it?
Certainly.
A lot of times when it comes to clubs, this kind of goes on to what you were saying. Would you describe yourself as an introvert or extrovert?
I'm definitely more of an introvert, and most kids who fence are a little bit of oddballs, but it's a really great family for everyone to come into and interact. So,
Well, that's where the environment really helps. Is you're going to be treated the same. You're going to be treated good, no matter where you're coming from.
certainly.
So, how do you feel about public speaking?
I actually don't mind public speaking if I know what I'm talking about. Certainly, if I was just thrown up onto a stage and told to talk about, quantum physics, I would be a little embarrassed because I don't know anything about that. But if it's something like fencing, I'll talk about that all day just because I'm so excited to share this information and I do know what I'm talking about.
For sure. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
I would say my academic record. I worked really hard in school and um, yeah, it really shows.
Is this the only club that you're part of?
No, I also do the Woodsman Club and the Equestrian Club.
This is, this is almost an obvious answer, but how is
One
fencing
answer you may
different
not
from
be
other
expecting is it's a lot
combat
safer.
sports?
Even though
MMA,
you are using
Taekwondo.
swords and
Well, one answer you may not be
battling with
expecting
them,
is it's a lot
there's so
safer.
many safety
Even though you are using swords
procedures
and,
in place and rules that you're
bouting with
expected to
them,
follow
there's so
and
many
gear
safety
and the way that you do fence.
procedures in place
It's just a really
and
safe
rules that you're
environment,
expected
but
to
also
follow
incredibly
and
fun.
gear and the way
It's
that you
also a
do
lot
fence.
gentler, so
It's just a
like no
really
one's
safe
gonna get a
environment, but
concussion
also
in fencing.
incredibly
You know,
fun.
this isn't
It's also a
football,
lot gentler,
but it's
so
also really
like no one's
old,
gonna
so
get a
we have to
concussion in
respect the
fencing.
sort of history of
This
the
isn't
sport.
football,
Hmm.
but it's also really old, so we have to respect the sort of history of the sport.
Well, the other thing you haven't talked about, or I didn't hear yet, is
Right, yeah. So
that the
the jackets
jackets
will
are
either be
made
made
of
out of
material
nylon
that
or
it just
denim,
isn't very easy to get
which
hurt
really
with.
helps
Right, yeah.
soften
So
the
the jackets will
impact
either be made
of
out
the
of
weapon when
nylon
you get
or
hit,
denim,
but you only need
which really
500 grams of
helps
force to
soften
score a
the
valid touch
impact
with a foil.
of the weapon when you get hit.
So the
But
worst
you
that's going
only
to
need
happen is you're going to
500
have a
grams of
bruise if
force
someone is
to
too
score
rough.
a valid touch with a foil. Um, so the worst that's going to happen is you're going to have a bruise if someone is too rough.
We
So for
actually
this
discussed
club,
this
we
in our
need to
last
do a lot
meeting,
of
and we're
fundraising.
thinking of
What are
doing some
the
movie
events that
nights,
you have thought
maybe
about
watching
so
The
far?
Princess Bride or
We
Monty
actually
Python,
discussed
something
this in
fun
our
like
last
that.
meeting, and we're thinking of doing
We're
some
going to
movie
do,
nights,
maybe
maybe
some
watching The
fencing
Princess
bingo or
Bride or Monty
Jeopardy, and
Python,
we're also
something fun like
looking into
that.
doing a bake sale.
We're going to do a Kahoot, maybe some fencing bingo or Jeopardy, and we're also looking into doing a bake sale.
So this is getting a little off topic, but
So once the
Heard of
president of the Holy Grail
I've
is
never
like a
actually
British
seen
comedy,
Monty Python.
and the Princess
Monty
Bride is
Python.
hilarious.
So
This
Monty
is
Python and
British
the Holy
humor, so
Grail
it's
is a
a
British
little different,
comedy,
but it's still really
and
funny, and
The Princess Bride is hilarious. This
sort
is
of
British humor, so
spoof
it's
on
a little
the
different,
ones
but
that
it's still
are
really
currently
funny,
on.
and it's sort of a spoof on the Knights of Arthur and the Round Table.
So you said that you are a freshman.
Yes.
So how much of a challenge do you foresee happening with balancing classes and running this club?
Well, I always took on too much in high school, so this kind of feels natural in some way that probably shouldn't. I was always balancing, tons of activities and a job and schoolwork, which I loaded myself with classes then too, so this sort of feels like the right rhythm to be in.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your major in college?
So I'm double majoring in the 5-year architectural program as well as interior design.
So if most people wouldn't even know that you're doing fencing or
Right.
that type of. Um, but for anyone trying to start a club, what would be your advice?
Well, it's not that difficult. It's just about keeping your time managed well and being organized. So there are a lot of steps, but there's a lot of different people who are super friendly, can help you with those, and they really want to expand the college. So if you want to start a new club, you definitely can. It's just about being organized.
Where are you originally from that had this fencing team?
I'm from a suburb of Buffalo, which is about 2 hours from here. It wasn't through my school or anything. It was just a really old guy who had been running this club for forever.
What skills are going to be taught as part of this activity?
So aside from the basic skills of how to fence, you'll also pick up a lot of confidence, how to lose. The You'll learn the benefits of hard work and dedication because this is really a thing that you want to build over time. And you also learn a lot of social skills. like I said before, fencing kids are usually a little awkward. Maybe they didn't quite fit in on the football team, but then we also have kids who are really social and come to fence anyways. So you get that big interaction of different types of people who may have been more shy or more extroverted, but everyone is there to fence. So it really brings together these different types of people and teaches them a lot of social skills and makes them, like I said, more confident.
So the reason why I kept bringing up new clubs is I'm planning to do an interest meeting for a brand new club that I would like to run. I can't say a lot, but it has to do with science, technology, and religion. It's going to be on court. Well, thanks, Emma, for coming down to the WTD 90.7 FM radio station
Thank
and
you for having me.
talking to me and the listeners about your new club. I will be at the next meeting, and maybe now some new people will be too. This was another episode of the show made by Pioneer for pioneers about pioneers. This being the Pioneer Podcast Radio Show. Don't forget, this will be on YouTube also if you missed the show and have to watch later. Good luck, pioneers. Talk to you soon.